I don't want you to get divorced over it.
Thank you.
Well, speaking of Kathy Hilton, listen, way to start with a bang on Lunch with Bruce.
Right. Well, let's start with Jennifer Aniston.
Right. Jennifer Aniston, Daniel Craig, and Kathy Hilton. You're like 3 for 3 at
I
this point.
know.
Not that I doubted you. I mean, it's SiriusXM and it's the real
Sirius
thing here.
They've been so wonderful. So when Andy basically in 2016, Andy, I was at the Palm and he goes, we did an episode of Deep and Shallow. So Deep and Shallow literally is like, you go deep, you go shallow. We were sitting at the Palm. We went from a real subject to looking at, checking out a hot guy to, oh my God, Goldie Hawn is sitting over there with Bob Daly. Like, you know what I mean? And then he was like, I think this is a show, Lunch with Bruce. So there was a slow jam in like 2017. And then he said, if you really want this to get some legs, you have to commit. So each Friday people know that they're going to get there. So, okay. So from 2016 to now, we went into quarantine. We did Quarantine with Bruce, which was just like this, you and I speaking. So the food went away, which was really a fun element of the show because the ambient noise, the food, the booze, we'd get drunk. Sarah Paulson and I doing shots of tequila. Andrew Reynolds and I like getting smashed before he was getting on but we were talking real stuff because to me, it's about a conversation, like a real conversation. People have something to say. And it got to the point where I was like, Andy, like, what are we gonna, like, where is this gonna go? Like, it either has to go next level or, I wanted to take it in a podcast mode. And he dropped the hint that potentially Sirius was going to be launching a podcast platform. And so if I could just be patient, which I was, and then it happened. And when it was conclusively happening, I thought, okay, there are certain people I haven't pivoted to ask because you don't get, you gotta, and you want to launch big. So I heard it was happening. I knew when I was, it's so here I was at Beverly Hills Housewives. I was at Remedy Place getting an IV, like, vitamin drip with magnesium.
Of course you were.
Of course, right? And I, text Jennifer and I say, Jennifer, this is happening. Would you be open to doing it? Because it also concurred with the morning show, which I was a big fan of season 1, ready for season 2. She got back to me in a second, said, of course, just ask Stephen Uvain. He said, yes, we made it happen. And I knew, okay, this is the way to start. And let's really like go next level. And then I went to Jeff Klein because now the Palm's out of my life. And I was like, poo, Palm, you're dead to me. Bye-bye. But we want to bring it back to the table because people love the noise. They love like what are you eating? What are you drinking? And I went to Jeff Klein and said, would you be open to us to do this at the Tower Hotel, Tower Bar Restaurant? He said, yes. Oh my God. Now we're glam. Now we're Hollywood. Mm-hmm. So Jennifer came and we did it like at 5 p.m. and then we had dinner afterwards. And it was, and she, when the dating question came up, which was a big deal because the part of the show is really the ease of just sinking in. No one does really our format. It's 6 minutes on the Tonight Show. It's 22 minutes on Watch What Happens Live. There's a lot of games and stuff. So you really get to talk to someone about who they are. And that, to find a night one, like one of the lead stories on Entertainment Tonight, Access, I was like, wow. Like, okay, we're onto something here. So that was exciting. And then Kathy behind it was phenomenal. Then Daniel was here. So Daniel comes, he's also staying with us. And I said, and I not only asked him, but then I respectfully, of course, Laura Simons is his publicist. I say, will Daniel do this? And he's action packed. She's like, yes, but let's do it at the end before we leave. So he's super chill and you'll get, and Brian, my husband, listened to it and said, I think this is going to go down as one of the definitive conversations he's had about this. He's going to love this forever. And I mean, he was pissed that I was asking too. He's like, oh my God, like really? Like you have to ask. But that's good. And we have Andy is next week. We have Amy Pascal coming up, who is, just incredible. She used to run, Sony Columbia. She has Amy Pascal Pictures. She's, a huge executive and producer. We have Barry Diller coming up. So we have, I just did Glenn Powell, who's going to be a superstar. I mean, he's already a superstar in my eyes, but he launches this summer in Top Gun Maverick. and you're going to see this guy's face all over the place, and Tom Ford is going to do it. So we're getting some goodies.
Was Jennifer Aniston always like in the back of your mind a year ago, like if this happens, this is what I want? It just happened to work with the morning show, which is brilliant.
100%. Yes. Both those are yes. Jennifer Aniston always, and when Scott, the producer of the show, and I would talk about potential guests, she was always on the list, but I was like, oh, please hold, and I will do that myself. And when this happened, I'm like, well, this is now the universe. Even with Daniel, because I wouldn't have asked Daniel. He was here, and No Time to Die was premiering. I mean, we did the show on the night it premiered.
Your timing things great. And I mean, let's face it, Kathy Hilton is, I mean, having this month, last month, I mean, Beverly Hills that's it. We have a new
my Instagram by like 2,000 people. Thank you, Kathy. Just because she's great, she's a superstar. So we pay, she said to me, why don't we do this at my house at Christmas time? She loves Christmas. I go, I love Christmas. So I texted her the other day. I'm like, let's get the Christmas. And my ideal show at Christmas time is at Kathy's house, having a Christmas lunch with Kathy, Kyle, Kim, Paris, and Nicky. Come on.
I have to like leave right now, Bruce. Like that's too much. I mean, like let's put it into the universe for so many reasons.
Yes.
That would be amazing.
I know.
Well, yeah, I mean, like my format here is an hour. Like it's to your point, like an hour is right. Like you really get to know someone. It's a real conversation. If you get lucky and someone's not going the Hollywood route, which I would think most people, because you know them a lot, most of your guests, like they're probably, it's easy. Yeah. They open up to you. I mean, at least from the episodes I've listened to so far, which I've listened to all of them.
I think they do. I mean, there were a couple like before we were on podcast mode, like I did, a Gayle King I know, but Norah O'Donnell I didn't know. Those were like interesting ones for me because now they're journalists, and so I was like, oh wow, like what do I bring? But universally, what happens in the course of the hour is we sink in, people start to talk, the road turns, and because like you, I listen, because a lot of people that interview people don't listen. So if you're listening, you then can walk down that path, then bring it back. And then inevitably, because people go in like, ooh, this is an hour. They say, that was so fast. And
totally.
They enjoy it. And people like to talk about themselves and what's happening in their life. It's interesting.
Do you have a dream guest? Like if you could get anyone on your show?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, okay. I love that question. I should always come prepared with that question. But like, if I'm just talking off cuff, right now it would be great to sit down with Madonna to talk about Madam X and to talk about her life, because at the end of the day, I think what the woman has done in her life, especially for gay people and for AIDS, and is so interesting, and there's so much fabric there that I always want to, I get into like these conversations with her. It'd be fantastic to have, I'd like to have some really great sports people, like if like LeBron James was on the show, it'd be interesting to understand like what makes him who he is. I'd love to have, Michelle Obama would be amazing. I want to have, Anna Wintour. I'm a huge fan of Anna Wintour, and I just think she's an incredible person. And I think, I've gotten to know her over the years, and she's one of the most interesting and to people's surprise, warm. When she's at, because I think people think of her as very austere because she kind of
yeah.
So her, I'd like to have, there's so many, but like them and any super really sexy hot guy is always fun. Movie star.